All right, here's Odell Beckham, the shooter. Vince, he had this to say: "I can't sit there and lie like I don't want the ball." Beckham said, "I feel like I'm a shooter in basketball. I know I bring a lot of attention to defenses, and other people are going to be open. You just have to live with that. The ultimate goal is to win the championship, and I feel like I'm in a great situation to do that. My main focus was to be healthy, stay healthy, and get through a season."
Yeah, he also compared himself to James Harden, saying that, nobody expects James Harden to do anything other than play offense. So, good news is I don't want Beckham to play defense either. So we have that in common. Let's get some thoughts on this from Mike Clay. It's time for Clay's Anatomy. And you just heard that. Obviously, Mike, when you look at Odell Beckham Jr., you heard it from him. He wants to get the rock. Do you think he'll get his wish? Obviously, this is a message to the coaches. Are they going to listen?
I think so. I do. Look, this was really one game. If you look back at his first two games this season, weeks 3 and 4, he had 16 targets in those two games. 8 a game, that's about where he was last season, right? So obviously he had a week 5 dip. We don't like that. I do think the number will improve to close to where he's been the last few seasons going forward. He is Baker Mayfield's top target. You still don't have Jarvis Landry in the lineup for now. And also, this may be a very high-scoring game with Arizona. They're going to have to keep up. That's obviously a terrific offense on the other side. They're going to have to work Beckham in. And keep in mind, too, the Cardinals have allowed 14-plus fantasy points to 8 different receivers this season. So if there's a get-right game in the cards for Beckham, it very well might be this week.
Now, yesterday, the Chicago Bears placed running back Damian Williams on the COVID-19 list, leaving rookie Khalil Herbert. Should fantasy owners trust Khalil Herbert in their lineup versus the Packers?
Yeah, as my colleague Matthew Berry says, trust is a strong word, right? This is a day 3 rookie. There's certainly some risks here, but he did lead the Bears in carries last week with 18 with Damian Williams in the lineup. You would expect him to handle a bulk of the carries in this game. The passing game work is the concern for me. So far this season, he's only run 8 pass routes, has 0 targets. But on the other hand, his competition, Ryan Nall and Artavis Pierce, shouldn't be much of a threat. I think he'll be their lead back. And look, the Packers just last week allowed 2 touchdowns and 32 fantasy points to the Bengals running backs, and they were missing Joe Mixon for most of that game. So it is a decent spot here. Herbert, for me, is an RB2 option. So maybe if you're stuck in that spot, you put him in your lineup.
All right, so Taylor Heinicke had a bad week last week. We all know that. But at the end of the day, for Taylor, I picked him up. I followed your rankings, and I said, you know what? I need a quarterback this week. Picking him up. Make me sound smart. Help me justify this decision.
Well, how about this for smart? 3 top 12 fantasy weeks this season. That is more than Lamar Jackson. It's more than Matthew Stafford. It's more than Aaron Rodgers. So he has been smart. He has played well so far this season. And yes, I do think he's a good streaming option. Again, to some extent, the production has been there. 8 passing touchdowns so far. He's also 8th at quarterback in rushing yards. So he's adding that element to his game. 7th in expected points. So that shows you that his volume work is putting him in position to score a lot of fantasy points. And he's kind of lived up to that so far. And of course, the key here, the reason he's a streaming option is the matchup. The Chiefs have allowed 28-plus fantasy points in 4 straight games, the most fantasy points to quarterbacks this season.
Well, there's a lot to think about here, Fitz, and Fitz is feeling a little bit better.
Feeling froggy.
Mike Clay, thank you for joining us, and thank you for another installment of Clay's Anatomy.
Thanks, Mike.
You got
it. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.